just want to take a moment to say thank you for everyone who is here, both in person and virtually. It is great to see everyone as we talk about ways that we can embed COIL into different curriculums. And this conversation started because we often talk about COIL at least on our campus, we often talk about COIL as one-off. I am a specific person, a teacher doing a COIL in my class. And we are starting to see more and more how there are great and effective ways to be able to say it's not just about a one time in a class, but it can be embedded more broadly into the curriculum. And I'm very thankful for our panelists today because it's a wide range of presenters on how what that can look like. We had a great conversation in our keynote earlier from Dr. Don Whitehead talking about some of the different COIL plus ideas of it doesn't have to be embedded specifically in classes, but in a lot of different ways. So we asked our panelists to come in today to be able to talk about how they have embedded COIL in so many in different ways to see some different examples for that. So we'll be taking some time to go through their presentations and let them talk from their perspectives. The questions that we came up with as a group that I asked them to talk through are these five that you see in front of you, which is first off, I always like to start off with what is their experience with COIL and where they started from in their COIL experience. But then also, how have they been able to embed COIL in their curriculum at their institution? What hurdles have they encountered? What do they see the benefits? And who on your campus have you had to get to be a part of that community? So wanted to take some time to explore those conversations from a lot of different perspectives. So with that, I'm going to turn over to our first presenter. Abigail Bryant is presenting today from SUNY Administration. So I am, Abigail, going to let you talk and I'm going to be quiet now.
Thank you. Do you want me to share my screen for the presentation or will you be pulling it up?
I believe I have it ready to go right there.
Awesome. All right. Hi, everyone. My name is Abigail Bryant, as Chilton said. I work in the Office of Opportunity Programs here at SUNY System Administration. And my primary focus in my work here is to work with the Educational Opportunity Program. I always like to start with a little bit of history because I think that history helps guide us as we talk about why we do the things that we do today. So just a little bit about the Educational Opportunity Program. Arthur O'Eve was an assembly member, a freshman assembly member at the time in New York State. And he was in the area of Buffalo, and he believed that every New Yorker, no matter their economic status or academic performance, should have access to college. So he made it so with a program called the Educational Opportunity Program. 55 years later, here we are today, and we have over 85K graduates. And we continue to build access points for our students to have both access and opportunity to be successful in college. There is an EOP at 54 of our SUNY campuses here in New York State. We also have sister programs in New York State called HEOP at our private sector and SEEK-CD in the CUNY system. EOP provides students with individualized counseling, personalized tutor supports, and financial support for our admitted students. And we are able to do this, and we continue to do this for a variety of different reasons. The first one is to ensure that our students not only are admitted to our institutions, but that they persist, that they graduate, and that they succeed. With EOP, students are able to show their potential and complete at rates that are often higher than the general population of the students that are enrolled at our institutions. We continue to highlight the importance of EOP today because many of the challenges for low-income students and students from under-resourced schools continue to have issues when they are embarking on their journey in higher education, between cost, the hidden curriculum, and a variety of other issues. The doors have remained open, but the systemic barriers have remained. The passage of time has not resulted in social progress when it comes to higher education attainment in New York State. So EOP continues to be at the front of this issue of student persistence and completion, while transforming our programs to ensure that every student receives quality education, which is something that I heard a lot in the earlier presentations. And we recognize that an education is necessary, and an education that goes above and beyond is what the Educational Opportunity Program seeks to do. Next slide. So with all of that history in mind, you can see how our program directors saw COIL as a beneficial component to our students' college experience. This includes expanding more opportunities to our students to engage in global learning, including the opportunity to study abroad, which I also heard earlier in the presentation. I was happy to hear that this is not a either or, it's an and, right? COIL should be an opportunity that students can do in addition to the opportunities to go abroad, opportunities to do internships. Opportunities should be all available to our students. And we recognize that global education is a necessary component to student achievement beyond graduation as well, as Dr. Dawn shared about the NACE competencies and a variety of other employer surveys that have been done over the past few years. Our employers are looking for students that can speak to the global experience, that understand what it means to engage with people beyond the four corners of where they are. Global learning is a high impact practice, which I've heard a lot already today. And global learning encourages critical thinking, analysis, and interdisciplinary education as students explore the interdependence of our nation with other global nations and global systems. And the quote that I have here is by Leah Thomas, who says, "The future is intersectional." And in the book, she talks very much about the environmental justice and the importance of environmental justice in the work that we do. So we believe that every student should have access to these things. And a handful of our EOP directors found COIL to be one of the best opportunities they had available. And it was really about identifying how could we embed this into the program that we already have, a program that's already successfully enrolling and graduating our students, right? So what are some things that we can do to enhance, or what I like to say is increase the potency of what we're doing, right? We want to make sure that our students are leaving beyond prepared from our education. We are also intimately aware that access without these sort of opportunities does not create equity. And in our vision of a sustainable future, the voices of our students and their development is paramount. And we recognize that their voices are needed on the global stage. So we want to make sure that these opportunities, like allowing COIL in some of our summer programs or throughout our program, really shows students the possibilities of what their voice can do and the impact of their mindsets and their work. And then I will go to the next slide, please, to talk a little bit about COIL in practice and how it looked for EOP. So Taur Orange is an EOP director at FIT, and a lot of the experiences that I'll be talking about COIL in practice on this slide is based off of the experiences that she's had. From my understanding, she hosted embedded COIL into her summer program for 3 summers in a row. Her students each summer were pre-freshmen, able to engage in a global learning experience that really engaged them in some critical thinking and positively impacted everything that the students were learning and connected very closely with what they were doing outside of those COIL experiences in the summer program. So how EOP got to COIL was one spark. All it took was one presentation from COIL at a director's meeting to take hold. And a handful of directors, including myself at the time, said, let's do it. The next part was the heavy part, right? Embedding COIL into EOP was a labor of love. In practice, COIL took on different forms for our EOP programs. Some of our programs decided to go non-credit, and we did it during a summer program in a workshop or a different sort of activity. Some of our programs opted to do it for credit. Some during the summer, others decided to embed it in their first year experience course for EOP students, and included it as part of their onboarding for EOP students into college. And very much what I've experienced and what I've heard across the board from our different directors that have done this is that a lot of the experience and why they decided to do it was to show students that beyond the classroom, there are other things that you should be thinking about when you're in higher education, and you should be challenging yourself and thinking about what are some other unique things I can do in college beyond the degree program limitations that I have in front of me. So it really expanded the scope of the students' reality when it came to higher education and the opportunities available to them in higher education. And it also expanded their community, and it disrupted a lot of assumptions that they had about different nations, about themselves, about their ability. It really spent a lot of time as students were going through this, disrupting some of these like negative deficit mindsets that they may have came to us with. Most importantly as well, because EOP is what we do, we really did look very deeply at what are some ways that we can bring in some culturally responsive education for our students. A lot of our students come from a variety of different backgrounds, so making sure that we were addressing and acknowledging that many of our students are first generation American. Many of our students come to college with 1 or 2 or 3 different languages, right? So making sure that we were also being responsive, and COIL allowed us to do that in many ways in some of our campuses. There were a variety of different elements that went into the design of this, and I won't go into too much detail because I think I'm running out of time. So we'll go to the next slide. And that is the hurdles and the opportunities. And oftentimes I'm a very optimistic person. So when I heard, oh, what are some of the hurdles that you experienced? I was like, I have to add in some opportunities because I don't want to be negative Nancy today. So the first hurdle that we all maybe experience is that while higher education has a set of priorities, the focus often sways to the next shiny object that is in our way. So those shiny objects are often where our funding lives. So you have to be willing and able to adjust your messaging, or as Dr. Whitehead shared earlier, shifting your framing, right? So you want to change and shift slightly to the right or left and reframe how COIL can be embedded into your coursework and why it's important to continue to maintain it in your curriculum and the programs that you're doing. We have to also be shiny as well. And that means speaking exhaustively about the accomplishments of COIL, speaking exhaustively about the experience that our EOP students are having with COIL, which I've continued to do on any stage that I can get, and sharing more widely and more often. The second hurdle that I identified, and this is specific to EOP, is just sustaining interest, right, of what this shiny object can be and what it can accomplish. There is always a new initiative in higher education, and they call this initiative fatigue. After a while, there's this initiative that we need to build up and come up with, and then we have to shift to the next. And this really brings a lot of individuals who are the innovators on our campus to be exhausted, because they're often the ones that are also tapped to bring in these new initiatives. So we have to give ourselves grace. Remember that COIL provides a variety of added benefits to students. And remember that COIL is a community, which is something we are continuing to echo throughout this entire day together. Tap into that community of COIL practitioners. Share your challenges. You'll be surprised to hear some supports that you will receive from the rest of the community as well. And as a reminder, community is an action verb. It is something that you have to practice. It's something you have to do in order to sustain this work that we're looking at. The third hurdle is something you can't do anything about, and that's shifts in leadership, changes in leadership. And this hurdle really requires you to identify allies, share the good news of COIL, and again, remember the framing, thinking about whether it's UN sustainability goals, climate change, or maybe AI, which is the new big thing, making sure that you are recognizing and sharing with others the versatility of COIL and all of these academic opportunities for our students. And finally, the last conversation actually we had as a group was around the budgets. And I think it came up a bit. And I was like, oh, I don't want to be repetitive, but budgeting is a serious issue because budgeting also limits time. When budgets are tight and people are picking up 2 or 3 extra courses, it gets really, really exhausting for the folks that are doing this work. And the impact that, lack of funding is very, very real. And it often directly impacts our students and their experience. But we know, especially in EOP, that we can do a lot with less. We have been doing a lot with less for many, many years here in the Educational Opportunity Program. So looking into and tapping into our creativity, into our network, and most importantly, remembering that the COIL Center is here and that this community is here to help you navigate those budgetary constraints. So that is my presentation. I hope I didn't go too long because I'm excited for you to hear from Allison and also Carlos.
Thank you so much, Abby. You did great on time. You have plenty of time left. What I loved is we've been talking so many different conversations today. We just came out of a session earlier that was talking about strategic planning and how you can do that. And I love how Abby talked about really seeing the value of this, not just on its own, but in part of the mission of what EOP is doing and really making those connections. And so just wanted to highlight that is one way to be thinking about how to embed COIL in different ways, is through really looking at how it aligns with other entities on campus and their needs and having that conversation. So thanks, Abby, for being part of that and sharing your views on that. I'm going to click over here real quick and then go back to my participants so I can make you large again. So Carlos, we'd love to have you present now. I'm showing everybody in the room physically, everybody online again, so they can see faces as we move over into our next section. So thank you.
Hey, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Carlos Moreira. I'm talking from Campinas, state of São Paulo, Brazil. Next slide, please.
Here we go.
Okay, thank you. So I'm a mechanical engineer, but now I'm a business professor. After the studies of engineering, I got an MBA and a PhD in administration, and I've been teaching for 27 years now. I carried out the first COIL project in Brazil in 2013, and I haven't stopped since then. I have already done something like 40 projects with partners from the United States, the Netherlands, France, and Portugal. And I'm currently also a mentor for COIL projects. Next, please. I work at 2 institutions in Brazil. The first one is Centro Paula Souza. Centro Paula Souza, or CPS, is a public higher education system in the state of São Paulo, composed of 79 technological community colleges that we call FATECs, Faculties of Technology. And they are spread throughout the state of São Paulo with 94,000 students in the whole system. CPS is a pioneer in COIL projects in Brazil. We're doing COIL since 2013, and it starts with me and my colleague Oswaldo Succi, who is here in this session. And in this institution, I am a professor and a COIL practitioner. My role is do the COIL projects, and I do actually 3 COIL projects each semester at this moment. I work also at Pontifícia Universidade Católica de Campinas, PUC Campinas. It's a private Catholic university in my city. It has 2 campuses in the city of Campinas, where I live. It's a big city. It's a million inhabitants city. And the university has 15,000 students. And there, we've been doing COIL for 2 years now. We started in 2022. And there I am a coil mentor. I'm trying to help the faculties that are willing to do coil projects. So I try to help them to have their projects. I look for partners, I do meetings with them and their partners and try to structure the coil projects there. Next, please. I'll share with you two experiences of coil embedded into curriculum, one of Centro Paulo Souza and another one at PUC Campinas. At Centro Paulo Souza, as I mentioned, we started in 2013 in my course of Introduction to Administration for freshmen. At that moment, Sunny Oster, professor, looked for us, and I had been chosen because I teach something similar as he did at SUNY Oster, and we start our partnership. And this project is still running. We are in the 2030 edition now. Maybe a world record, I think, or we are close to this. We start with Sunny Oster. We stay with Sunny Oster for a long time. For, I think, 2 years, I work with both Sunny Oster and SUNY Nassau at the same time. And then at Oster, they decide to give a break, to have a break. And I still keep running with SUNY Nassau. Today in this business program, we have 3 regular projects, 3 regular coil projects in partnership with SUNY Nassau, this one that I'd mentioned. Another one that I do with Florida State University, and a third one that I colleague do with Symbiosis Center of Management Studies in Pune, India. They're all for freshmen, for students in first or second semester. In this 11 years, we had some sporadic ones, but these 3 are really regular. All the semesters we offer these 3 coil projects for freshmen. Okay, next, please. About hurdles. We haven't yet been able to significantly increase the number of regular coil projects in the program. Centro Paulo Souza increased dramatically the number of coil projects in the system. We start with this one, and now something like 60 to 70 coil projects are done each semester in the campus. Not only in our campus, but in all the campuses of the system. I will move to the last bullet and then I'll come back. It's not so easy to find partners because we have a great coil department at our headquarters in São Paulo City, and this coil department is managed by my colleague Oswaldo Susi. But the policy was finding more partners and have more coil projects in more campuses and not increase the number in one only campus as ours. And I think it's a correct policy. Nowadays, we have many campuses doing coil. So it's not so easy for us to increase our number, and it will not benefit the other campuses. And I think it's a correct policy, but we would like to have more coil projects in our business program. It's not the only hurdle. We have language hurdles in Brazil. Some of our faculties don't feel comfortable to run projects in English or Spanish. They can speak English, I think, but they feel comfortable doing it with, for example, an American partner who has English as, the native language. And most freshmen feel uncomfortable as well. They try to run away sometimes from coil projects, not because the idea that is they realize that is very important, but because of the language. And we have some strategies. In Centro Paulo Souza, we have English courses in all the semesters. And when we do a coil project for freshmen that are they don't have a good level in English, we try to identify the students that can speak English and put one of these students in each team to guarantee that in each team at least one student can speak English and do the interaction with the foreign students. Next one, please. The benefits are clear for us since the very first moment. We noticed how important it was for our students. Here in Brazil, we don't have a lot of opportunities to interact with foreign people, with foreign students. And it was a great opportunity. Since the first edition of our project, we noticed how important it was. And in 2014, we won an important award in Brazil about partnerships, and it was really very, very important for us. Today, all of our students do a coil project in the program, and 6% of our students do at least 2 coil projects. We noticed that these projects increase intercultural competence and language skills, and we embedded it into the curriculum, focusing on freshmen. We noticed that if we couldn't have coil projects in all the semesters, we would like to have it for freshmen in a way that they could be aware of the importance of developing intercultural and language skills throughout the whole program and in their careers. So as they do 2 coil projects, we think that in another semester they will keep it in mind, the importance of intercultural competence and language skills. Next one, please. Talking now a little bit about the experience of coil projects in the nursing program of PUC Campinas. We started 2 years ago, and almost no one in the university knew anything about coil projects. So we started talking about what coil projects are and trying to motivate our faculties, our schools to do experience with coil projects. And the nursing faculty was I think it was the program that, get this idea as something very important to them. So they are pioneers in our university, in the PUC Campinas in coil projects. Now they do regularly since then 2 coil projects with California State University and with Florida Health System, which is a very interesting experience because our students interact with professionals of the healthcare system in Florida. It's a different kind of coil. And at this moment, 2 new coils projects are being planned with South Africa and with the Philippines. Next one. The hurdles and benefits are pretty much the same. The language hurdles with professors and students, but I think that this this love for doing coil that they fall in love with coil, and they are trying to overcome the hurdles. There we have another hurdle specific that it's some professors don't work full time. So if the professor teach in the morning, he or she doesn't have hours for a meeting in the afternoon. They need to do it without being paid for it, and sometimes it's a problem. And our students are most of them are worker students, so they study in the morning, they work in the afternoon, and sometimes also in the evening. So to do synchronous activities is a bit challenging. Next and the last one. And the benefits is that they're realizing that they can train nurses with an international vision with COIL, aware of the differences or similarities between the healthcare systems around the world. And they are getting to develop English language skills through COIL projects. And rather than offering language courses in the program, it's a good experience, and they think they are doing a good job in this point as well. It's all. Thank you for your attention.
Yeah, I have to remember to unmute myself here, so that we can talk. Thank you, Carlos, for sharing. And again, love the perspective from your institution of longevity, as much as anything is so impressive on that, and what it takes to continue to coil year after year, and the different support systems you've had to have in place to be able to do that. So really appreciate that viewpoint and what you were able to say with that. So thank you very much for that. And now we will move on to our final speaker. Before we get into some questions, after Allison Witt, and Allison, I will let you introduce yourself and go from there.
Yes, hello everyone. My name is Allison Witt, and I'm the Director for International Programs in the College of Education at the University of Illinois. Let's go on to our first slide. So I work in the College of Education, as I said, and our main focus, or one of our main areas of focus, is our teacher training. And so during the pandemic, obviously, I think the whole world realized that teachers need to be trained to teach online and to be able to do that very effectively. And so we are very excited about using COIL within our teacher education program in order to give our students practice and experience in developing their own COIL projects. We imagine a future in which all of K-12 around the world will be actively engaged in COIL, and we want to prepare our teachers in order to be able to do that. I don't know how much this is talked about outside of teacher education, so sorry if this is boring, but the PISA test is a global education ranking system, and it measures all K-12 students around the world globally on both global competence as well as creativity, many other things too, math and science, things like that. But where I find particularly relevant to our discussion today is the global competence piece as well as creativity, because in our early research on our COIL projects, we're seeing some exciting gains there as well. And I know that both Abby and Carlos were talking a lot about the intercultural piece, and that obviously is so hugely important for our teachers. They're going to be in, most of our teachers stay in the state of Illinois because, as you may know, in the United States, teacher training is state by state. The licensure is state by state. And within Illinois, we have a very diverse population with newcomers coming in from all over the world. And particularly in this current political context, we think it's so important for our teachers to be able to create a warm, welcoming community within their classroom that can extend beyond their classroom in order to make our communities function well. So giving them this experience with COIL is just incredibly important, particularly in these times. We know that they're going to be preparing their own students. Oh, sorry, if you could go back for just 1 second. We know they're going to be preparing their own students for tests like the PISA test, but also for college admission, and having experience, their own students having that experience of working with students around the world is important for, getting into college and thriving in a college environment. And then probably most important of all, we're all aware of the really pressing challenges that our societies around the world face. And we need creative problem solvers who can work together across cultural difference. And so we are focused on training our teachers to train the next generation to do that, and I don't think it's something we know, right? Like we're still figuring out, how do we train teachers to create those kind of environments within their classroom so that we can develop the creative problem solvers that can work in cross-cultural contexts that we need so desperately in society right now. Okay, next slide, please. Yes, so what we have developed, we started this actually during the pandemic, and it's grown enormously since then. We've all fallen in love with it. I think we've heard today that COIL's very addicting, and people fall in love with it. And that's certainly true on our campus and in our College of Education. What we what we do in this project is we have our undergraduates paired up in little pods. And we also have added in another university, Mizzou and Missouri University, and also Chinese University of Hong Kong. And we put them in little mixes of pods, and then they teach online to middle school students coming to us from 23 different countries around the world. We use the UN SDGs as our main topic. And we do, fun projects, fun activities. We do art, we do music. We learn about each other and work in this coil. It's kind of a double coil space because we have the teachers working together who are, being paired, and then the students from different universities being coiled. And then at the next level down, we have the middle school students from all over the world who are also meeting their peers and working with their peers in various configurations. And one of the things that we really love about it is that we feel like this takes COIL out of just the university context, where you're working university to university. And sort of like Carlos was saying with the nursing, it really extends it into the community, because we find, for example, with our middle school students, often in the background, we see mom, dad, grandma, grandpa, siblings, everybody's coming together around the screen to talk to each other and to engage. And we absolutely love that, because it really breaks the walls of the university down and lets us reach out and really engage with communities directly around the world. Next slide, please. So we have definitely embedded this into our college deeply, because we run it as an internship course. We've actually had to develop sections of this course because students have been taking it since 2020. And so they've actually taken the same course over and over and over for 8 semesters. So we realized, we probably should develop levels, right? And those levels were really natural to develop because our students did, just by the function of the club itself, they really did sort of take on more and more responsibility as they gain experience, and then they began to teach the newbies, that come into the session, and school them in what they've learned so far, and then how to take it to the next level, how to do it better. For the middle school students around the world, it's free. We just have them join as a fun activity. Many of them are focused on learning English, but certainly not all of them. I mean, there's, places joining where English is the main, the host country language. But in that case, often the students are interested in hearing the other languages or learning other languages from around the world. So we find, for example, in the chat, if this were a session right now, the chat would be flowing and it would be full of languages from all over the world. So what we have done to, kind of help with that is we have added international students from our campus. We have a very, very international campus. Students from all over the world. So whenever we have a new group join and they're bringing new languages into the space, we recruit international students from that country to join as well on our side, so that they can monitor the chat, but also help the students feel comfortable to speak in English with us, or to help translate that language if we need it. We've also found, as kind of a really great side benefit, is that those international students then get a connection to home, right? Because now they're meeting once a week with kids from their home country, the teacher from their home country, and they're getting that little bit of home every week, which we really love. That as just a little side benefit for them. It's also really cool for our international students and domestic students to be partnered in this way, working together. And I think what an awesome thing for our future teachers to have that connection to someone from somewhere else in the world that they can continue to work with as they are practicing teachers. So we're really excited about that. We to find the schools, I'm often asked, how do you get the schools? It's actually super duper easy to get the schools. We just, we always have way more schools than we have undergraduates to teach them. And we've just, kind of opened it up to alumni, to our global partners that we work with through study abroad or other avenues in research. And the schools are really happy and excited to join, obviously, because it's a fun activity for them, for their students. Their students get to meet partners around the world, get introduced to some kind of high level material. We try to make it really engaging and exciting. And so, the schools are easy to find. What I need are more undergraduates. We're a relatively small college of education. And so, I can't take all the schools that we have until I can get more and more undergraduates. And so we hope to keep growing and growing as to other colleges of education to join us so that we can meet the need for all of the schools. We do have research goals. We're tracking and studying everything that happens. We don't have IRB approval to study the middle school students around the world. As you can imagine, that's crazy difficult to get. But we're studying our students and watching them learn how to use COIL, how to develop COIL, what are the challenges? What are the ways around it? And we're really excited to see the outcomes with our own students. Right now, we're putting together a research project where we're studying study abroad students who go and actually teach abroad, and those students who teach online, to sort of look to where are they gaining similar sorts of intercultural experience, and then what are the differences in those experiences so that we can really think about, I loved what Abby said earlier about, it's not one or the other. It's trying to give students all these possibilities. And that's exactly how I think about it too. Next slide, please. So I am like Abby, I wanted to take a positive spin on the on the negatives. I don't want to talk about the negatives. That's not my style. I presented it more as challenges solved. So the way we solve the time zone thing, which is huge, as all of you know, if you've worked in COIL, that's the biggest thing, right? Like it's impossible. And you can imagine if we have 23 countries trying to join, that's 23 time zones or more like 50, 60 time zones that we're trying to organize. So what we do is have multiple sessions per week. I also say that our undergrads are kind of in their own time zone because they stay up really late and they don't like to get up early. So they're kind of in a different time zone than I am, for example. So we have to take that into account too. So what we do is have multiple sessions per week where we're doing the same material, but different students are leading the sessions and different groups are joining depending on where they are in the world. It tends to be students who are on opposite sides of the world from each other, because some will be joining at night after school, and some will be joining in the morning before school. And that ends up, kind of opposite sides of the world, which makes for some fun parties because these students often don't have a lot of knowledge about each other. They're not border countries or anything like that. And so they really love getting to learn about each other. And for our students, it's fun to try to encourage that engagement and that interaction. We do send the vocabulary and the lesson plan 1 week ahead so that teachers can use this material to the extent that they want. We don't require them to. The kids can just show up and see the material for the first time. But if the teacher wants to work from the vocabulary that we'll be using, they can. And that does help some with those who are language learners and that are struggling with some of the bigger words. Sustainable development, that's a word we all know, but if you're coming into a language, that's not probably the first words you learn in English. So we need to, really provide some vocabulary. We also struggle, of course, with the digital divide. We have schools where, our school in Malawi, the teacher has a phone and she passes it around to the students. We actually don't even know how many students join because they're sharing one device, right? So they're passing it around and taking turns answering. In other spaces, maybe the student has, a complete elaborate setup with their technology and is doing 5 other things at the time that they're joining the club. So we really, our teachers really have to think about, how to prepare for that and have lessons and activities that will work across this digital divide, which again, I think is so important for future teachers because in our own communities in the US, we have a similar digital divide. Some students will have plenty of technology and other students will not. And so you have to be prepared to teach to both at the same time and figure out how to give both an opportunity. We do allow all translation services. So if they are using Google Translate or whatever, we're fine with that. We do have to explain that to English teachers around the world because they don't always like that. They want to force their students to just use English that they know. And so we share research with them that shows the value of doing it this way. And then, of course, they're allowed to run their classroom however they want. We just don't police the language. We let all languages come forward and let everyone speak in whatever language they want. And I would say that relates to my last point here, and that is listening to our partners. When you're working with different schools, you have different goals. The different communities around the world have different goals. And so we really get a good opportunity to learn from them about how COIL can work in their context. And that has been really fascinating. And I think so good for future teachers to see that they do have to adapt what they're doing and make it work for the communities that they're joining. It's a classroom of 2 or more places. So you have to treat those of equal importance. You can't prioritize your own context. And I think that has been a really great lesson for our future teachers. So to all of you that love COIL, I'm just saying, I just want you to know that we're doing everything we can to get the next generation COIL ready for you. They're going to come into your universities like starved for more COIL because we're making it really fun and really engaging at this early stage. So get ready because these students are coming to you and they're all going to they're going to be expecting to be in COIL. So thanks so much.
Thanks, Allison.
I think that was my last slide, wasn't it? Yes. Okay, there we go.
So I'm going to, hold on just a second. I'm going to pull our presenters back up so we can see everybody in the room as well. And I'm actually going to stop sharing my screen so everybody can see everyone. And sorry, I need to do a quick, I have you done, okay. We'll make sure I have our presenters pinned at the top of the screen so everybody's able to see them as we talk. But I have a question in the chat that I'd like to start off with, but also want to open up for other questions that you might have. And the first question came from Annette Ritchie at University of Albany, and she was asking, what do you think about the readiness of freshmen and pre-freshmen, so younger K-12, as we were talking about, Allison, as well, for beginning successful COIL experiences? How do you think that works into this and their knowledge of that? You want to open up to any 3 of our panelists to talk about that?
Yeah, I wanted to tackle this question first. I did have a piece about our Bloom's taxonomy and the importance of kind of layering on COIL experiences so that it's not a one-time experience. It's something that you want to build their global learning competency over. So for us in the pre-freshman for the summer EOP program, it's really about scope and where and what we are hoping to accomplish in terms of learning objectives and goals. Most of our EOP directors set specific objectives for the summer program and what they're expected to learn. And some of those objectives are as simple as, becoming college ready. And whatever that looks like is then designed for the COIL experience and what they're doing in that course. So it's really about, are we ready for the students when they show up to us, and can we create an environment and a learning environment that is prepared for what we want them to learn in that space. So we kind of flip it a little bit and are mindful and aware about how our students are showing up to us and preparing the material so that they can grow with us at that stage.
Great. Thanks, Abby. Carlos, I know you mentioned you specifically targeted first-year students, and so we'd love to hear your perspective on why you really want to make sure that happened early in their college career.
In the first week of classes here, we have a week for welcome the freshmen. And since this very first moment, we talk to them about the importance of the, international things. And we talk about our coil projects. We try to motivate them. But I feel that they come very motivated already. I love to work with freshmen because I think when they are arriving at the college, they are, very excited to, take all the things that the college can offer. They're very open to learn, and I think it's easier to work with them. The words you say, they get it fully, and then even they have this difficulty with language, and they fear a little bit to interact with foreign students. They in general feel very excited about it. So for me, if I had to choose, a semester to start doing coil, I like to do it with freshmen. Here, we don't have a lot of opportunity to work with freshmen, but one thing that I think is if it was possible to work with a kind of coil projects with high school students. It's something that it's in my mind for a long time, and maybe could do something because CPS has high school as well. So maybe we could start working with this idea before they arrive in college.
Thanks, Carlos. And Allison, before I'm gonna let you talk about this too, but I hope you had a specific question that you put in the chat. Oh, okay. Yeah, perfect. So I'll let you ask that too, so Allison, you can address both at the same time.
Thank you. Hope took my question. I'm Kathleen McKenna from SUNY Broome in Binghamton, New York. I was just curious, and maybe you said it and I didn't catch it, but how many students participate in one of these gatherings, and how many different places, how many middle schoolers are involved, and how many different places do they come from when they gather together for their club meetings?
Yeah, so for each time, we will have, as each Zoom session will have about 100 middle school kids in it, or maybe more. It might be like up to 120. But we might be running, so let's say Thursday at 4 p.m. It's a popular time in our time zone. And so we would be running maybe 4 different Zooms at the same time, each with 100 or so middle school kids in it. And then what happens is we try to break out into about 20 students into small breakout rooms. And those are sometimes they're all from the same country, and they're going to prepare something that they present to the other students. And sometimes that smaller group is a mixed group where we're getting them to interact with each other. We often start out just having the smaller groups be from the same country so they get comfortable and used to working in this way. And then as we go through the 8 weeks, it's an 8-week program for the middle school kids. By the end, they're comfortable working with kids from all over the place.
Great, thanks, Allison. And the previous question, Allison, did you find any specific preparation you need to do for younger students with this, or about how to help support them?
Yeah, for the middle school kids, we don't do any preparation. They come in and we start. For our students, we spend the first 8 weeks of the semester preparing. So we train for 8 weeks before we have the kids come. For the middle school kids, it is just a club activity. And so we don't, there's no test at the end. There's no high stakes. It's about having fun. It's about engaging them and getting them the opportunity to speak with their peers. We do have goals for them. We want to introduce them to the university context, give them a sense of belonging, many, many goals that we have for the middle school kids. And then for our students, we do spend 8 weeks training them. I want to echo what Carlos said and Abby as well, in that we really love to start with freshmen because we want to, I love for the freshmen to get put in a little pod. We put them in groups of 3 or 4. And that way they get to meet other education students, and they're meeting once a week to plan together. They're getting some teaching experience right off the bat by getting to engage with these students. And I love to see the transformation. I've had freshmen come in that are, nervous just to speak to me. And 8 weeks later, they're talking to kids, in Indonesia and France and, 6 other countries, and they're having a great time. So, you can really see a dramatic change in the freshmen, and I get really excited about that.
Thanks. Another question that popped up in the chat, I think that came from in person, was how do you prepare the student teachers? Do you teach about classroom management or Zoom management, video conferencing management, anything like that to help before they go into a room with 20 younger students?
100 at first. First they have 100. So yes, we do. We have 8 weeks of, pretty intensive training. Of course, they're all in the teacher education program. So to some extent, those that are deeper into the program already have a lot of this. But we're welcoming in, freshmen through seniors. So we really start from zero. And, all of the things that you would expect. We're very concerned about the intercultural communication and how to manage that, how to manage language learners. We really draw a lot from our bilingual faculty to help us to prepare them for that challenge. And then we're also pulling from all across campus in stuff that we just think is cool and fun that middle schoolers would like. So we start off teaching them, some coding so that they can play a theme song, and each group gets to create their own theme song. So it's all about, how to get cultures to work collaboratively, and then also how to keep that engagement exciting and fun and something worthwhile for the middle school students. But we do spend 8 weeks getting them ready for, and then we continue to meet during the 8 weeks that they're teaching. That we're still meeting once a week to debrief and think about how we could have done what we did better. I see the question about bullying in the chat. It's really weird. We haven't had that. I don't know what it is. I mean, I wish I could say we had solved bullying. I don't know why. I don't know if they're, there's a lot of teachers there, maybe the heavy presence of teachers. I don't know. We have a lot of different theories as to why, but we haven't had that experience. And we don't have any rules about behavior because we just haven't had that. They're great. I think to some extent it's probably a self-selecting group of students. If you don't want to be in it, you don't have to be. It's a club. So, if they don't want to do it, they don't have to be there. But it's really been, we've been lucky, I think, maybe. Online component to the international connection. Yes, it's all online.
Just because I'm conscious of time, I know we moved into the last session. But before, I just want to have one more point. First off, thank you, all of our panelists, and all of your contributions. This has been a pleasure just to be a part and be able to meet this group. Most of the people in this group I met for the first time earlier this week via Zoom, and have felt so enriched just to be able to talk with you as well. But just to close up, just wanted to say a lot of what we were really focusing on was a lot of different ways to be able to embed into curriculum. And so you've seen things from specific programs to Allison's case. It's in some ways a service learning opportunity through COIL that's going on, and how that can be embedded in different ways. And so just love all of the different ideas that can continue to come out on where we can connect COIL and how we can connect COIL both in the classroom and outside the classroom. So thank you to our participants and our panelists right now. So for those in the room and online, anybody wants to come on and say thank you.